Hello and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome. If you could please type in the chat where you're tuning in from, that would be awesome. We like to see where everyone is logging in, and we're going to give it just a few minutes here, let people trickle in. Hi, Olivia. We've got some Georgia. A lot of people from Georgia here today. Las Vegas, Texas, Colorado, New York, people from all over. So awesome. We're heading into 100-degree weather this weekend here in Oregon. I'm in the Portland area. We're not used to it. It's been pretty mild, so gearing up for that. Awesome. Well, as you trickle in, feel free to introduce yourself in, hi Tara. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and where you're tuning in from, but we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Launching Your Wellness Business, Essential Tips for Success. Again, I'm Felicia Royce, and I am the Director of Alumni and Career Services. Um, and we kind of did these slides a little bit out of order. This is who I am. I'm also being joined today by Gina Schneps. She's our marketing manager. She's going to be in the background, just making sure things are functioning with our technology. And then also you might see Gina in the chat, sharing some links and potentially um, fielding questions. So our agenda today is really talking about all things business, wellness business essentials, and we're going to go over just a few key things that really help develop a business plan. And then we have a very special guest today, Amber Elliott. She's one of our wonderful alumni here with ACHS, and she's going to be sharing her story and her business. And we'll be able to glean a lot of wisdom from Amber today. So I'll be introducing you to her shortly. But you'll notice that you're not able to unmute yourself, and that's just because we record these webinars so that we can email these out to those who can't be here today live. And then all of you here that are here today live will also get a copy of this recording. So if there's links that you want to go back and read or access, you will have access to that. That being said, I love for these webinars to be really active and lots of participation. So please, as we're going through this, I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions, and we will have some time at the end for questions as well. Okay. So I'm curious here, how many of you that are attending either own a holistic business or plan to own a holistic business? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. So many of our alumni and students have these amazing, creative, inspirational businesses, and I have the best job in the world because I get to talk to people every day about these wonderful things they're doing in their communities. But I think it's safe to say that it's not an easy process, right? So owning your own business, you definitely have more autonomy over your services and over your schedule, but it's a lot. There's a lot to think about to prepare your business. There's a lot to maintain once your business is going, and there's a lot of iterations that have to happen. So to kind of, kick things off, it's important to really have a clear mission, a clear audience, a clear purpose, a why behind your business. Because when things get a little hard or maybe need to develop in a different way, it's really important to stay connected to that and to really build a plan and to really kind of go into this with really clear ideas that can be changed, right? So business plans often have numerous iterations. I'm looking at the chat here and sounds like a lot of you would love to launch a business. Some of you already have businesses. Maybe you're looking to expand some holistic spas. That's really exciting. So one of the things that we're going to share today, and Gina's going to share in the chat here in just a minute, I'm going to pop over here and show this to you, we do have a resource that you can use if you are looking to develop your business plan. We have a couple of business plans, but this one's a little more condensed, and it allows you to really get your business ideas on paper. So it's going to go over your business concepts, your problem statement, like what audience you're trying to target, what problem are you trying to solve, what solution do you have, what makes that unique. Um, Legal structure. This is, there's two pathways to owning a business, right? Or developing a business. There's the creative, really using your knowledge, really using your skills, developing relationships, with your community, clients, other professionals. That's like the creative side. And then there's all the stuff that you have to do to be able to get there, right? Like putting together an LLC or a sole proprietorship, making sure you have proper insurance, making sure that you have a business license in your state. Even just starting with your business name and going to your Secretary of State and making sure no one else has that name. These are all kind of logistical things that have to happen. So this gives you a place to kind of figure that piece out. I also want you to know that I'm here as a resource if you need any assistance in doing that. I'm by no means a lawyer, but I can at least get you to the right place. And then market research is extremely helpful in trying to identify like how you have a unique proposition and what other people are doing. And, sometimes getting ideas on, how a website is designed and that type of thing. So hopefully this is helpful to all of you. It's really robust. One thing that I would say is don't let this overwhelm you. Just chip away at it. This is also a way for you to recognize where you need extra support. So maybe you need to reach out to me and have a one-on-one appointment where you can really dive into some of these things deeper. We also have a mentorship program here, which Amber is a part of. And maybe you need a little extra peer-to-peer support. So Gina, I'm not sure. Oh, you did put it in here. Thank you so much. So there's that free business creation guide. Feel free to use that and let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to go ahead and restart the slideshow here. All right. So we talked a little bit about, what's needed in a business plan. It's also really important to focus on those relationships and networking and getting out in your community. One way to do that is organically just going to events, right? Going to conferences, being a part of third-party organizations like the NANP or American Herbalist Guild, and really just trying to make those connections. And then really, because like we just talked about, building a business it's a lot of work. You have to be able to take time for yourself, just like you would if you were in an employment situation. You have to have time for rest and exercise and family, and knowing how to kind of schedule that for yourself is really important. I'm sure Amber's going to talk a little bit about that as well. Um, and yeah, just really, understanding the financial piece, I would say, taking some business finance classes is always helpful, or taking additional courses where you learn about the financial piece. If you are a current student here with ACHS, you also have access to Timely Care, and they have free financial advice through Timely Care. So that's just part of your overall a resource that you have available as part of your tuition. So there's not an additional cost to that. So please tap into those things as well. I would say, as I talk to business owners, the financial piece and learning how to kind of reverse engineer that, know what your costs are going to be, what you need to make to be able to meet all of your overhead. That's where I think a lot of people have the most struggle, because if you've never done it before, you don't have anything to relate it to. So getting some extra help can be really beneficial. And to keep learning, keep growing, take those continuing education classes, stay up to speed on the trends, and don't be afraid to shift gears when needed as well. All right. Feel free if you want to ask any questions as we go, or comments, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce Amber here in just a moment. I did want to also, for those of you that want to go back and read about some of our amazing alumni, I did want to add in some links here. These are some of our most recent blogs that I've been able to be a part of. We interview some of our alumni. Victoria owns a plant-based ice cream company. It's amazing. She's done some really amazing work in her community. Jasmine has a holistic business where she does coaching and support. Her healing station, Bianca Salgado, is doing amazing work working with women, working on the nutrition side of coaching. And then Vines and Vitality is an awesome products-based business, really focusing on products and teas. So if you're inspired, you want to learn more about our other alumni, I would recommend reading through some of these blogs. All right, without further ado, we have our fabulous guest speaker today, Amber Elliott. Amber has taken quite a few programs and completed those programs with ACHS, including the Bachelor of Science in Integrative Health Sciences and the Master of Science in Herbal Medicine. Amber is an author, she's a podcaster, an entrepreneur. And honestly, I've been working with Amber for years, and I'm just always blown away at the amount of amazing things that she's able to do and maintain, and all the wonderful, iterations to her business and how she's expanded over the years. So I'm going to turn it over to Amber to talk a little bit more about her businesses, plural, because she has a few, and introduce herself and give you a little more information.
Thank you, Felicia. It's wonderful to be here. Yes, you have known me for a few years now, and you know my ups and downs and all the roller coasters in business that I've endured. It's a wild, crazy ride, but it's also an exciting one. And it's a journey, I would say, that is a must because you learn a lot. And um, I'm currently going next month. Actually, I start the integrative health, the PhD program, and I'm so excited to learn more with that. To be back at ACHS and um, again, just to keep learning. And I think knowledge is power, and especially when you come into business, you learn a lot. Boy, am I learning a lot this year. I opened a spa in Florida in 2016 before I started at ACHS. So it was just basic facials and everything, but I knew I wanted something more. I knew there was something out there that was more calling for me. And then we moved to North Georgia, and I wanted to reinstate that spa. And I wasn't able to, that for a couple of years. I wanted to incorporate teas and wellness and holistic alternatives, but there was just nothing out here. And the also the challenge with that is nobody knew what I was talking about. They didn't know what herbal medicine was. Um, Nobody understood the concept behind it, and it was very challenging to try to get anything up and going. So I started online, and I noticed there was a lot more like-minded uh, individuals online around the country that just gravitated to my line of work. And it was the networking there was more easier than it was locally. So I started at Hawa Life, which means to breathe. And we bought 5 acres, and I hosted workshops, breath work, herbal medicine, and just to try to get the community together to understand more of what I was about, what herbal medicine was about, and just wellness in general. And then it kind of, after years of searching and searching, I finally opened up a brick and mortar called Brews of Wellness, and that was my dream come true. It still is my dream come true. I just wanted to create a space where wellness wasn't just surface level, but rooted in deeper healing and combining skincare now with teas and holistic health. And my inspiration came from both the personal healing experiences and the desire to give others a sanctuary to reconnect with themselves. And I'm in a small town, and that's very, very hard to do because everything else is by word of mouth. And so trying to gravitate into that brick and mortar has been challenging, to say the least. I also am an author of a book that's coming out in September. It has to go through a couple revisions right now, but it's called Lost in Wonderland. It's about reconnecting with your inner child. Last year, not trying to get too personal or vulnerable here, but last year I suffered a miscarriage, and I have three beautiful children already, three girls, and healthy as can be, and I just couldn't understand why. And last year, the grief and the loss of the baby just really set me back. And I wanted to give up, honestly. But my eldest daughter said, "Mom, you need to write. You need to go back to writing." And I've written two books prior before Lost in Wonderland, but this one's a little bit more personal for me as it uses a more whimsical, dreamlike adventure as a mirror for the parts of ourselves that kind of got lost along the way. So readers walk beside the main character, but really they're walking back to themselves and rediscovering wonder, healing old wounds, and remembering who they were before the world told them who to be, in essence. But yeah.
Yes, that is really wonderful, Amber, and thank you for sharing. It sounds like you have a very wise daughter as well. Do you want to talk at all about your podcast?
Yes, I'm honestly just because of everything haven't been quite up to date with the podcast, but Bruise of Wellness is basically where tea meets conversation and transformation. I started that because I wanted to blend storytelling and healing conversations and a touch of my own whimsy into it as well, just to help listeners understand more wellness and how to get back to themselves, to reflect and realign with themselves. I need to update it.
Yeah, I've
That.
listened to quite a few of those episodes and they're really wonderful. So, and I know a lot of our students and alumni are interested in podcasting. So thank you for mentioning it. I think
Yes.
it's a great option to add in to a business and to share, share what
Yeah,
you're doing and, have
it's fun.
platform, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
thank you so much. All right. Does anyone have any questions so far for Amber before I kind of get into some interview questions here? Doesn't look like there's anything in the chat, so we'll go ahead and move forward. All right, Amber. So I know you maybe touched on some of this briefly in your introduction, but what really inspired you to start your businesses?
Personal healing, personal healing experiences, and this and the desire to give back to the community, to educate those who are interested in learning about ancient remedies, learning about herbal medicine, that is, and just coming back to themselves without. I know there's a lot of people that go to the doctors and get these prescriptions and just feel like that's where the remedies come from. But I want to be able to. I wanted to create a space where understanding and education can go. I mean, that can go hand to hand with things that were taught in the ancient days, where herbal medicine wasn't just used for pharmaceuticals, not for the higher ups, but we can actually learn and heal ourselves if we really took the time to understand it and learn it.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
And I know you're a very dedicated student. Obviously, you're going into a doctoral program. You've taken many, many programs with us here at ACHS, and you do a lot of, I'm sure, learning on your own as well outside of ACHS.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, like, how did your education or kind of what you've learned so far help shape your business planning and your ideas around your businesses?
My education in integrative health and wellness consulting, it gave me the confidence really and the tools to turn what I love, which is holistic care, into something more structured and professional. I never wanted someone to feel it be a transactional or a disconnected kind of care. I knew I wanted something more intentional.
Yeah, definitely. Was there an aha moment or a moment throughout your journey where you're just like, this is what I want to do? Or did you already know that going in? Like, walk us through that process a little bit. Like, was there a moment in your educational path where you decided, okay, this is really like what I'm doing? And, what did that look like?
It was a series of nudges. As you know, if something doesn't work out the first time, I try to innovate and try something different. Um, I've had clients asking for more. My heart was kind of like pulling me toward more an independence and the realization that waiting for the perfect moment or waiting for what perfect is meant never really starting. So at some point, I decided to just do it imperfectly.
Yeah, that's great advice. It makes me think of Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection, right? Like
Mhm, mhm.
sometimes we have to meet ourselves where we're at.
Right,
And I don't
right.
think perfect exists, right? I don't think that's a real thing. I don't think there is a
And
perfect.
and you will drown yourself in self-doubt if you did try to be
Absolutely.
perfect.
Absolutely. Great advice. Okay, so moving on. So, what were the first initial steps? And you could talk about even the logistical steps, like when you were thinking about building your first business, what did that look like? How did you kind of get things started?
A foundation. I had to have a foundation. Naming the business, clarifying my vision, and setting up the legal financial structure to it. Then I focused on building a service menu that felt more aligned with my skills and values with that.
Hmm. Awesome. And obviously, starting a business takes some overhead. Doesn't have to take a lot, right? You don't have to have hundreds and thousands of dollars to start a business, especially if you start virtually.
Mhm.
But did you do crowdsourcing? Did you save up? Like funding wise, what did that look like for you?
It was mostly out of pocket, with a combination of savings and like gradual reinvestments. Um, Leaning on creativity instead of big budgets is really my recommendation. Start
Yeah.
slow.
Start slow and
Mhm.
start frugal, right?
Mhm.
You don't need all the bells and whistles. I often tell students and alumni, like, yes, having a website's important, but you can start with just bare bones.
Yeah.
Just
Social
start
media.
with a product. Just start
Yeah.
with one thing, right? And then you can always expand and build. And I think you've done
Mhm.
that really well. I've been able to see that progression over the years of just building slowly.
It's, yep, it started with social media, really.
Yeah. So, Olivia had asked a little bit about the legal, like sharing your experience with the legal aspects of running a wellness business and hurdles that you encountered. I want to just say we're not lawyers here, so we
Mhm.
definitely don't want to get too much into the legal stuff. I mean, my advice there is every state is very different when
Mhm.
it comes to nutrition and herbal medicine. So you always want to just check with your state regulations. Pretty easy to find. You can just Google it. Um, Sometimes it makes sense to hire a lawyer, but maybe Amber could share like what business structure worked well for you. Like I don't know if you have an LLC, Amber, or how you maybe like the logistical process of that, but I don't think we'll get too deep into the legal question
Sure.
if
I can say it. I did do an LLC. I consulted with a lawyer prior, and I made sure I had all my ducks in a row before. I did have to research my state. My state is in the state of Georgia. Research disclaimers, contracts. Things I can say, things I can do. Um, CPAs. Just really, just to get rolling. I did consult with a lawyer and the laws within the state to make sure I'm covered in all aspects. So I'd recommend that first. Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to hire a lawyer long term. Like there are
No.
lawyers out there that you can hire for an hour or two to help you
Mhm.
with your paperwork and give you really specific, because looking at the statutes can be kind of overwhelming. There's a
Yes.
lot in there and it's legal jargon, so somebody to kind of break that down in layman's terms can be helpful.
Mhm.
Um, and then Jody asked, this is a two-part question. You mentioned landing on 5 acres. I noticed your Facebook page, you incorporate tea blending into your business model. Are you farming your own teas? And if so, can you speak to how this touch with your education at ACHS has influenced the development of your tea line?
Oh, I tried. I realized I do not have a green thumb. So right now I actually go through, I am partnered with Magic Hour Teas and they're based out of California and I absolutely love them. I would love to maybe get somebody to help me out with curating my own teas right now. Like I said, I do not have the green thumb. I realized that early on when we moved here. But maybe one day I'll have somebody come and actually help me till the soil.
Yeah. I think partnering with other companies can be really helpful though. And then
Mhm.
you're not having to worry about some of the like once you do your research, like white labeling too,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not having to have a proprietary blend, like that's
Yep.
already been done by them. Um,
Mhm.
so especially as a new business owner where you're still figuring out the ropes with all of that, I think it can make a lot of sense to partner with an established business.
Mhm. Yep.
So you'll have to keep us posted and let us know if you ever launch your own line.
That's a dream. That's another dream of mine. That's maybe a couple years. You'll know about it
Yeah,
though.
I'm sure. I'm sure. We'll share it. We'll write another blog
Mhm.
about it.
Yep.
Um, so did you have a formal business plan? And you can be really honest about this too. Like, did you use a business plan? Like, how did you kind of organize your thoughts?
I did have one that I created when I first opened a spa in Florida, but I realized I wanted to be more flexible this this go around. So it did guide me, but it wasn't foolproof, no,
Yeah.
honestly.
I think it's a really good place to start to kind of
Mhm.
organize your thoughts and to make sure there's no holes in how you're building your business. But I think
Mhm.
it can also lead to some like analysis paralysis. Maybe you can
Mhm.
relate to this where it's like, well, if my business plan isn't perfect, I can't move forward. And it's like you don't really have to have this like specific business plan to put yourself out there, right? Like you can
Right.
start and establish something that makes sense and then build on it over time.
Mhm. Right. And it all changes. I mean, everything can change, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Cloud asked, did you ever consider working with a business partner to help delegate your tasks?
Whew. Yes. Yes. That can be very challenging on its own as well because when you have a business partner, you have two different minds and it's great for collaboration a lot of times, but also when you go into partnership, one wants one thing and then the other wants totally separate things. So I realized that as part of what challenges in the midst of things. So right now I do not have a business partner, just because the last one that I tried to, honestly, we just had different goals.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it can get complex, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's a lot to consider from a legal standpoint too, in terms,
That, yes.
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into that, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Same with having employees, when it's
Hmm.
you and just yourself and it's only you to worry about, that's one thing. Once you start taking on W-2 employees, that's a whole different,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
awesome. Very helpful. So what would you kind of categorize as your biggest challenge early on, like early business days? And how did you go about overcoming that?
The biggest challenge was balancing passion with practicality, wanting to help everyone, but needing to also to stay sustainable. Um, I overcame it by honestly setting boundaries, pricing my services fairly, doing the research with the demographics, and remembering that saying no sometimes creates space for that yes as well.
Yes, that is really, really helpful advice. And I'm curious, it comes up a lot in my world when I'm talking to a very, very new entrepreneur who
Mhm.
maybe who they haven't built the confidence yet. They're still building that and they're still learning how to, approach their marketing and all of that. And so I'll hear people say, I'll just give away my services for free. Like I have an established business plan, I have insurance, I have everything, but I don't, I just maybe I'll do like a free just to kind of get myself out there. How do you feel about that? I know how I feel about that, but what advice would you give on free services?
Don't do it. I have done it before, and it's a really quick way to be taken advantage of because not only does it look like you didn't spend the time and effort in your education and your training, you even discounts. I can't honestly say I don't like doing discounts because then it's also becomes the norm to give discounts. And if you're confident, just be confident who you are and what you stand for and in what you are bringing to the table, then you don't have to worry about that in my experience.
Yeah. Yep, the discount thing I definitely agree with as well, because it sets kind of a standard. And, I think one thing to think about is you went to school, you invested in this, like really invested your time,
Mhm.
money, your,
Mhm.
your everything into this business. And so you deserve to be paid adequately, right?
Mhm.
Long as you have everything in place and you have a tax ID number and you're able to take
Mhm.
payments, I think it's important to establish early on. And that's where the market research piece really comes in. Like
Mhm.
what is an appropriate amount to charge for services? Sometimes you don't know that. So doing some market research and kind of seeing what the median amount is out there. And I don't think it matters if you're brand new or you've been doing this for 10 years. You're a practitioner once you say you are, right? Once you've established your business and you've graduated and you're doing your thing, you're a professional, right?
And when you're confident in that over time, that can build trust and confidence with your clients who might have
Mhm.
been skeptical at first or anything like that.
And I also think it builds boundaries.
That too,
Like,
yes.
you're paying me for my services. We're not friends here.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
I'm a professional working with you in professional services. So I think it's a really interesting conversation. And thank you for sharing, Carissa,
Mhm.
being vulnerable and sharing that in the chat. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Mhm.
So, what are some valuable lessons that you feel comfortable sharing?
Oh, plenty. Uh, One was underestimating how much clarity I needed in contracts and agreements. I learned the hard way that contracts aren't about mistrust, it's about memory. And I now make sure everything is spelled out to the T, the scope, costs, splits, product use, even social media. And that clarity protects me, my clients, and anybody who I collaborate with.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, that's a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
Very valuable. I hope everyone's taking notes. Anything else that you want to share?
Um, for the most part, I know a lot of people talk about networking and the how to get people in, and honestly it is through community, it is word of mouth, it is showing up authentically on social media. My first clients, they weren't strangers, they were people already connected to me who trusted me enough to take that first step, but not always is that the case. You'll get more strangers who become your clients and year round than you do friends or family. I've noticed in my line of work and stuff, a lot of family members and friends don't understand again what it is, what wellness is. They just figure, I go to the doctor and that's my wellness check-in. And it's really cumbersome when you think about it and you're hoping that your close friends and families are going to come together and support you in that aspect, but don't worry about them. The strangers will become the loyal clients. They will become, those are the ones that don't know you personally, but they want to get to know you. And then when they do, you'll have a best friend for life. I like to say. Still have a client that I had um, when I first opened my spa in 2016, and she still wishes I was there. So I love her to death, and the strangers will become your your first to me. So don't worry about friends and family. They will come.
Yeah, word of mouth can be very, very powerful.
Mhm. Mhm.
And those are the best kinds of referrals, right? Because they already kind of know what you're about because they've
Yeah.
heard and they've
Yes.
heard how it's helped other people.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Michelle asked in the financial aspect, has building credit for business been beneficial? I would say from my perspective, yes. I mean, I think you're asking about like credit, like your credit score and like your credit in general. I mean, I would say if there's a way for you to never take out a business loan or, borrow money, try to do that, right? But in the case that you have to do that, I think, you need to be able to show that you have a thriving business and that you have an ability to repay your loans. So,
I think in Georgia here you have it's weird because in order to get a loan, you have to be in business 3 months to get that loan, which boggles my mind because I'm like, how am I supposed to start the business if I don't have the money?
yeah, I hear that a lot
Yeah.
actually. And so I think it's important to think about crowdfunding.
Hmm.
I know it's hard to ask, but if you have supportive people in your life doing some crowdfunding and letting people know what you're trying to accomplish, and then trying to find as many free services as possible so that your overhead is low. So maybe that means starting virtually or using free services through like SCORE, through the Small Business Administration, and just trying to keep that overhead as low as possible. These days with technology, it's easier and easier to do that. I mean, Amber has definitely branched out and now has a brick and mortar, right? But she didn't start there, right? So I think it's important there's a lot of grants out there too. If you go into the SCORE, it's score.org, put it in here. If you go on to the SCORE website, you can Google grants, small business grants, and they have a whole list of grants that might be available. A lot of times you do have to have some sort of business plan or an established business. Also, look at your local chamber of commerce. A lot of times they have pitch competitions and things that there's funding locally that you could tap into as well. Opal said, if offering products and wanting to start virtually but don't want to pay for a website, how do I sell products I recommend if I do herbal consults and iris analysis? I think iridology is what you're referring to there. I mean, it's tough when you're selling products. I would say you probably want to start at like your local farmers market or, like Michelle said, local boutiques, trying to get in with local stores that sell herbal products or who might be interested. Um, but yeah, sometimes with products, it's tricky because sometimes you do need to have an e-commerce business. Um, to be able to have a platform to sell, or if people wanted to continue to purchase your product after they purchased it the first time. I believe there is a free Square site, but it's very basic. I don't think you could sell products on there. Square, like, as an like actual website does have a cost, but there's like Square site, which is like a one page that I think you can do for free. I don't think it'd be a good thing to host an e-commerce site though. Um, Cloud says Wix has a free option. Again, any of the free options, I mean, look into them at your leisure, but I think most of them wouldn't be able to host like an actual, like where you could purchase product. I think it would be very general. So if you did want to build a website, you would have to, it's usually $100, $200 a month, depending on who you use. But if you want to get out there, I'd say, while we're still in the season, local farmers markets, boutiques, natural stores, those types of things. Amber, do you have anything to add to that?
Currently I use Square. When I started online, I use Wix and I didn't, I don't recall having to do any more extensive thing with the Wix. I think was all free and just connected to my account. I did have to get my retail license still, though. Um, yeah, you're like you said, Square has a really basic um, page for the first, so I do have to pay monthly for the rest of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you comfortable sharing like even like an estimate? Like you don't have to say exactly what you pay, but is it close to like $100,
Yep.
$200 a month?
Like 150.
Yeah, sounds about right. So that's kind of the median cost.
Mm-hmm.
If you use e-commerce sites like Shopify, those I think can be even more complex.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
for like a startup, I would say Wix, Squarespace. Um, there's another one that is escaping me right now, but there's a few. that, I think would be a good starting point. And you could, like with Wix, you can create your own website. So if you have technology skills, you don't have to hire somebody to do it all for you. Whereas if it gets really complex, then you might need to hire somebody to really, be able to use all of the functionalities. And I think Wix even has that. Like um, you can hire somebody from Wix, tell them exactly what you want, and they can build it for you. But that gets expensive.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah. Jody said Batty in Business on YouTube has an excellent and free learning video series. That's really helpful. So if all of you want to jot that down, Batty in Business. That's
mm.
awesome. Yeah, cool. Okay, moving on here. How has your business evolved since it started? We kind of heard a little bit about this, but maybe you could give us a little bit of a timeline.
It's grown from a basic service menu to more of an experience. I started with facials and teas, and right now my brick and mortar, but I moved towards a holistic, what you say, like a holistic hub with integrating DNA-based wellness workshops and more of a community gatherings right now. It's 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 a slow process as I'm in a small town, but I think I'm one of the first spas where I'm at right now to incorporate a DNA analysis into facials. Just trying to get to the root cause of basic like acne and dryness and aging. And I think it's going to pose a really good um, endeavor for the next year because not anybody around here actually has that. So I think that sets me apart.
Absolutely. Super, super amazing.
Mhm.
What strategies have been most effective for growth? I know we kind of talked about slow progression.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to add about just how you've expanded and how that's been kind of a natural progression?
It's all about it's the partnerships and collaborations where you have out there. Again, everybody has their own goals and endeavors of what they want to do within certain businesses. But when you can find the right partnerships and storytelling, a lot of storytelling, you want to partner with aligned brands. Like for me, it was Dynamic DNA Labs, which expanded my reach. Sharing my personal journey helped people feel more connected and more invested in my mission and into my passions. So yeah, storytelling and partnerships.
I love that. Yeah, it's so nice when you can connect with the story, and have a personal connection to something.
Mhm.
Um, How do you stay motivated during those tougher times? What are some of the self-care tactics that you use to stay motivated?
I have to go back to my why, the why I started. Being the first to introduce something new in a smaller community, it's not simple. You deal with hesitation and extra questions, but that also means you're the one setting the standard. So, what keeps me motivated is seeing how this approach genuinely empowers my clients and giving them knowledge about their own health and that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. So that impact makes the challenges really worth it.
Mhm. Yeah, what is it like for you when you get client feedback, when you know you've made a difference? What does that feel like?
It's like a hoorah.
Yeah,
It's like, yay, can you
yeah.
can you write that down for me? Because I need that affirmation later.
And yes, you should ask people to write that down. Those testimonials are really important,
Yeah.
especially if you start sharing a website of that nature. Do you remember the first time you received feedback in your business?
Yes, years ago. I don't know what happened to her, but she gave me a really good feedback on Yelp one day, and it's just when I see it's kind of like it's like you're a singer and you hear your own song in the car and you're like, oh my God, that was me. So like, oh, okay. Well, then it gives you more of like kind of like a more the confidence to step up, learn more, and to just keep going and keep striving to do good in your community, and even kind of also keeps you accountable. If that
Yeah.
makes sense, it keeps you accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, a couple of questions that are really applicable to our audience today. What advice would you give? I mean, you've already given so much great advice, but what's some advice you'd give to this community here at ACHS for those folks who want to build their own business? There's a lot of people on here today that that's what they're really striving to do.
My advice would be start before you feel ready. Get clear on your why, keep your overhead low, and focus on serving people rather than being perfect. Community over competition.
I love that so much. Community over competition.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Um, would you do anything differently in your path? Um,
Uh, I would worry less about how it looked from the outside and focus sooner on symptoms, not symptoms, systems and boundaries. A strong foundation really saves a lot of stress.
mhm, absolutely. Yeah, so you've given us so much to think about and so many great nuggets of wisdom. This is the time where if there's any other questions or comments, I'd love those to pop into the chat and I'm going to look and just see if I've missed anything. Thank you all for sharing these resources back and forth. That's super helpful. The Heal Me resource, I don't know a lot about Etsy, so sounds like a lot of you use that platform and are sharing. Thank you, Crystal, for the link to the Baddie Biz. Michaela said, how do you bring new ideas into your business while staying true to its core purpose? And what's your process for deciding whether they're worth pursuing or letting go?
Ooh, I pray about it. I do. I pray about it. Um, you know me, I try to bring something new all the time, just to try to stand out in ways. Um, but again, it's not about competition. In my small town, there's no competition here. I would say I wish there was, because then you kind of put you in a challenging um, way to where you can figure out how to you have to think outside the box in that way when you do have challenges and when you do have competition. But yeah, I just pray about it, and if there's something new, I try to I put it out there slowly. And then if there's little bit nudges or little, inquiries, then I kind of just go full force. And sometimes I'll honestly, I'll go full force with something and just think this is going to be great. And then I have to really retract it and be like, okay, wait a second. This is not getting any traction right now. What am I doing wrong? So I have to reassess, pray about it, or pray and reassess and come back to it. And then eventually it sticks eventually.
Yeah, I think that's so important to just realize that you might think something is an amazing idea, you might
Mhm.
implement it, and it may fall flat. Or
Mhm.
you may push something away, an idea that, oh, I'm not going to do that. And then one day you're like, I am going to do that. And then it just really sticks. And so part of it is just exploring and
Mhm.
keeping an open mind, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Um,
Mhm.
Francesca said, when you said not really using discounts, how do you reel clients in? As an esthetician, it's hard to get clients without offering a discount. Um, I have plenty to say about that, but what are your thoughts on that question?
How to get clients in without giving a discount.
Mhm.
Reviews. Reviews of the ones that you've already had. A lot of word of mouth.
Mhm.
Again, not saying that you don't have to have discounts. You can do that seasonally. I had to do that seasonally. Or package deals. Yes, you can put it to a package deal, which uh, makes the discounts kind of like, oh, that sounds more convenient, more better. I get more bang for my buck in reality. So yeah, I think a lot of the reviews aspect, getting people in. If you're new, like how I was, I know how easy it is, just like, hey, here's a free service, here, try this. But what you can do, what I my strategy was, when they purchased a facial, then add on paraffin wax. Put an add-on there, because then they're thinking they're getting more, or they're believing, which they are, getting more than what they paid for. And essentially that's their free, token of love. Like, thank you for choosing me. Here's your, free add-on.
Mhm. I like that a lot. As a business owner myself, I know this sounds really, I don't know how it sounds, but I also just really believe that the right people find you at the right time. I've seen that play out in my own business, and I feel like people want to pay. That's what I've learned over the years of trying to discount my own services and trying to, as a new practitioner years ago. But people want to pay, like I'm in an industry where there's potential tipping involved, right? And it's like, I'll tell people you don't have to tip, but they want to. It's like people want to pay for services that they enjoy and that are improving their life and they're, helping them
Mhm.
with their preventative health or whatever they're going through. So I think
Mhm.
also just changing the mindset around money can be really powerful.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just my own nugget, being a business owner for so long. Um, Christy said, I live in Atlanta where there's a lot of competition. What is your advice for fighting the feeling of what am I doing? What I'm doing is not unique, or has this been done before? Do you have anything to say about kind of unique proposition, Amber?
Find find what sets you apart in that aspect, and really hone in on it. Sometimes your personality is the only thing that really sets you apart, and that's a big bonus because I've known a lot when I used to when I owned my spa, I was in my salon suite, so I had major competition, and I realized it wasn't just my logo, it wasn't just my services, it was my personality. It was how I approach people, how they feel when they're getting a service, and that speaks volumes on or volumes whatever word you want to use it. That speaks life into your business as much as just giving them a plain old service like the next person could do. But if they can relate to you, if that rapport, I want to say that rapport that you give to your clients or people on the streets come in, that's going to set you apart more, if nothing else does.
So true. How you listen,
Mhm.
how you really take the time, how people feel when they leave your office, those things really
Mhm.
matter.
Mhm.
I hope that answered your question, Christy. Michelle had asked about package deals. I mean, you can add a package deal, let's say like you do nutrition services and herbal medicine services, or
Mhm.
maybe you have like a 12-week program or something like that. And I actually feel with packages, even though there could be like you don't even have to say discount. You can say if you package it, you're going to have this amount of savings, right? Then purchase
Mhm.
a la carte. And with packages, I feel like people actually have more buy-in. One of the things when it comes to one-on-one consulting and coaching is that you're beholden to that person rescheduling with you. So you
Mhm.
have 1 hour with them, and then you're like, oh, they never contacted me again. Whereas a package, let's say you built into that is 5 sessions. That person's now buying into 5 sessions, right? So they may pay a little bit more upfront, but it's like an accountability. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Amber, but that's the way I see packages.
I agree. Absolutely. Mhm.
I hope that's helpful. Linda said, what can you do before you're ready to launch an LLC? Is it possible to do anything before then, or is it too risky? Linda, I think that's probably a little outside of our scope to answer. I would say the Small Business Administration has a whole page if you type in legal structure that actually goes over all of the different types of legal structure. Um, Sole proprietorship versus LLC, there's different kinds, and those have different requirements and different costs involved. So you just want to read through that. I just want to be careful we don't give legal advice. Just trying to practice what I preach here about not stepping out of our scope of practice.
Mhm.
But Linda, if you wanted to talk one-on-one, I could give you those resources as well. Um, and then Cloud asked, do you ever test products on friends for reviews and or ideas?
For me personally, I have just not just for reviews, it's just to see if they like it, then potentially a client would like it. That's how I interpret that. Again, very minimal because that's your product that you're using and that's money still going out the door. So if you get, for example, I use Farmhouse Fresh Organics in my spa, and they send me samples. So those samples are the ones I'll test. I allow my friends and family to test out, and they'll give me the feedback. Hey, should I run with this? And what I might like, they don't. So I kind of go with the mass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's good. The samples are a really good
Mhm.
idea because you're not spending any money on those, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
and you get feedback. So,
Mhm.
uh, Barbara says, I'm wanting part of my business to do consulting, and I want to know what website system would work best if I'm pre-sending health questionnaires. Amber, do you use any type of intake form on your platform? I know like Jane app and
Jot form. You can use Jot form.
Jot form. I don't think I've heard of that one, but
Mhm.
there are specific I'm so blanking today on so many things. But there's another, I'll follow up with you, Barbara. There's another software that you can use specifically for coaching and consulting. It's just
Mhm.
escaping me right now, but Jot Forms, is that Jot?
Mhm. Dot forms, I believe.
Never heard of that. That's really cool. Did I spell that right? Jot
Mhm.
Forms.
Mhm. Yes.
Cool. And I'm keeping an eye on the time. We have a few more minutes here. But let's say all you have is online connection. You're not great at tech stuff, but you just started and need to reach people who would care. What do you do to reach them, as far as like marketing techniques if you have a virtual business? Do you have any ideas of how you might market some of your business? I know you had said earlier, like get in your community, try to, like get out there and talk to people in person, right? Do you have any other
It,
ideas?
it's good to go to the markets. I had to do that for a while. Just even if I'm not selling anything, just showing my face up at the local wellness markets. Also, online social media has a huge way of getting your name out there. So even if you, I mean, it kind of sucks in a way because social media now is the standard for marketing a lot with, especially in our kind of our field, especially if you're in a small town like me, nobody knows what I'm doing. What is a tea? The only thing they know is Southern sweet tea, um, and that's okay. That's when you go to the local markets and you show your face and you're educating the public on what it is and what you're about. But
Mhm.
social media for me has been the major go-to.
Awesome. Thank you. Last question before we wrap up here. When you consider startup costs, what portion of your setup was do it yourself, such as websites, photos, etc., or did you outsource these behind the scenes tasks while you focused on your offer to clients? Like, because I know you talked about creative ways of doing that.
For me, it was the ground up. I had to do it all, honestly. My husband, thankfully, he's an IT guru. He works in cybersecurity, so he helped with the website, any marketing aspects with that. But everything else is really from just my creativity and trying to just. I don't really want to outsource a lot of things, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
want to be able to have control. And but if I did do or needed, I would. I would.
Yeah.
Push comes to shove, I would. Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah, sometimes you have to. Like it's just
Mhm.
there's no other way, right? If you
Yeah.
don't have tech skills and you want to build this
Mhm.
like, complex website, you probably
Mhm.
not be able to do it on your own, or you'll have a huge
Mhm.
headache trying to,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
some things are just worth outsourcing.
Yes.
So you have to kind of consider your skills and what you
Mhm.
can do on your own and what you need to like. I can't stand billing in my business, and so I have somebody do my billing for me,
Mhm.
worth every penny, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I know we got to wrap up here. I'm going to ask one more question, and then anyone else who has questions that have filtered through, I'll definitely follow up with you individually and see how I can help. But just to honor everyone's time here, last question: do you have any advice on building confidence using social media?
Do it anyway.
Start
Do
where
it
you're at.
anyway. Do not worry about comments. Don't worry. Like you're gonna have trolls. you're gonna have trolls everywhere. Just do it. Be authentic about it. Just know what you're putting out there, and that's if you know what you're putting out there, you should have already the confidence in yourself because you know you're letting the world see. You have kind of a glance into your field and who you are. So if you're authentic about it, you there that's the confidence there, and people will see that.
I agree. And you can start where you're at. If you're not comfortable doing videos quite yet,
Mhm.
just make a flyer. Canva's
Mhm.
an option. You can, do some creative stuff there and just kind of dip your toe in the water. Also, utilizing things like Score that I put in to the chat earlier. If you type in their search social media marketing, they have tons of resources. So taking like a class, even a free class or looking at things on YouTube to get ideas can also be really helpful.
I will say, I noticed a lot of people using more AI too. I don't recommend going too much that route, especially with facial stuff, recognition, or however they're doing it. Um, it's more better to see your face. If you can, if you're camera shy, again, I do agree. Just do the flyers and put your picture there. That's it. Or even do voiceovers. I've noticed that that's helped a lot. Just maybe a simple video with a voiceover of yourself talking is also great because then they still feel like it's you.
Yeah. Yeah, being authentic. I like that word a lot.
Mhm.
Well, I want to thank each and every one of you who showed up today. Thank you for spending this hour with us. Thank you, Amber, so, so much for sharing all of this. It's so invaluable and for being so involved with ACHS and sharing all of this wonderful work that you're doing. I'm constantly inspired by you. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, thank you all and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.